Yes, folks, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Thank you very much for watching this little channel here. Do like and subscribe, please. It does help, you know. Anyway, I'm going to talk today about violence in the prisons following the statements yesterday in the House of Commons by the Justice Secretary Alex Chalk. Yeah, Alex Chalk was telling everybody yesterday how he's going to resolve the prisons by allowing people to be discharged from the prisons 18 days early, and that foreign nationals who commit offences will be automatically deported. We discussed that yesterday. So at least Alex Chalk is thinking about these things. I mean, people have been looking at the prison system and just virtually saying, oh, well, that's the way it goes. I mean, but it isn't. You know, somebody has to do something about it. And, of course, we've got the issue of, it's reported in all the papers recently, there's been a big outcry across the press, you know, drugs in the prisons and violence and staff being inexperienced and inappropriately placed in charge. They're saying that single female staff, 18 years old, are being put in charge of landings where there's 60 or more inmates on their own. Now, what do they do? How do they deal with it? Well, I'll tell you, listen now, I was talking about violence in the prisons. When I was in the prisons, of course, prisons have always been violent places, haven't they? I mean, they're places where people who have committed atrocities, murder, grievous bodily harm, actual bodily harm, wounding with intent, they get sent to prison. And of course, just because they get sent to prison doesn't mean that they suddenly become little saints, does it? They become prisoners with the same attitudes that they had when they were on the out. So when they're in the prisons, they're equally as bad, if not worse. And how do you deal with prisons? I mean, I'll tell you this, the way at Strange Ways and at the Scrubs was if anybody kicked off on the landings, and they did, obviously they did, you know, attacked staff or attacked other inmates, then the first officer on the scene would raise the alarm, you know, ring an alarm bell, and then go in. You'd actually you wouldn't think about your own too much about your own safety. You'd actually go in and grab them, and by that time, usually within a minute, you know, you've got 5 to 10 officers around you, all big guys, experienced, and ready to get their hands on. Today it doesn't seem to work like that, because they don't have the staff. So what are they doing today? I believe that today they're kind of avoiding the altercation, and I've had communications from serving prison officers at the moment who are telling me that they are offering a policy of appeasement. You know, so you'd say, you go back to your cell, you know, just stop all this off, we'll make sure you get the latest Xbox game or extra time out of your cell or whatever it is, and just generally buying them off. But of course that won't work indefinitely. I mentioned the other day that Rudyard Kipling wrote a poem about this, that when you start paying the Dane girl, you never get rid of the Dane. Because just come back for more, won't they? That's what the inmates are doing. Except they've got to one point where they're virtually running the show. And I read a report about a prison called HMP 5 Wells, where the inmates, this was a modern prison supposedly, you know, with forward-thinking ideas, except that they put into it Category B inmates. And Category B inmates are potentially very violent, not Category A inmates, but potentially violent, have committed crimes of some magnitude, and they're placed into this brand new prison, HMP Wells, and they are effectively running the place, you know, smashing the place up, climbing onto the roof, demonstrating against it, and they haven't got the staff to deal with it. I mean, when I was at the Scrubs, the IRA ran rampage through D-Wing and got up onto the roof there and started smashing that up, parading up and down with a homemade tricolour, you know, the Irish flag, waving that around with mock uniforms on. And they wanted to be political prisoners, you see. They said that they were not criminals, they were political. I could see their argument, but it wouldn't wash. I mean, once you start down that path, where do you stop? So, I mean, if they've been guilty of blowing things up and murdering people, then they are not really political prisoners, in my opinion. Although their motives may have been political, their actions were criminal. And that's what they were in prison for. Not for their beliefs and their motives, but for the actual deed. So they were marching up and down on the roof. They didn't get political status. In fact, when the IRA came off the roof in the end at Wormwood Scrubs...
Put your dinner on.
My wife's telling me I've got my dinner on. Yeah. So when they came off the roof at Wormwood Scrubs, they demanded that they have an escort, and they wouldn't wear prison uniform. So they gave them blankets, because they took all their mock military uniform off and put it on the floor. And of course they didn't have any clothes on at all. They gave them blankets. So I was just one of the discipline staff, and we're saying to them, you know, have a look at the blankets. It says on the bottom, on the edge, HMP. You're still in uniform, lads. HMP. So you know what the IRA did? They threw the blankets down on the floor. It was February, I believe, or January, something like that. It was pretty cold. And they threw the thing on the floor, and they walked across the prison to the segregation unit, starting bollock naked in the freezing cold. All the inmates were jumping up and down at the windows, shouting, "Yay, ooh!" Hey, those are the days, eh? That's when we had staff. We're not staff now. So, HMP 5 Wells are supposedly out of control. Yes, it's a song dinger, folks. I'm not going to sing you a song, I want to read you a poem. This is a poem by Wilfred Owen, who was a soldier, and he was killed in the First World War, actually, in 1918, the 1914-18 war. This is Anthem for Doomed Youth. Just let me see if I can get this right here, yeah? What passing bells for those who die as cattle? Only the monstrous anger of the guns. Only the stuttering rifles' rapid rattle can pass out their hasty horizons. No mockeries now for them, no prayers, no bells, nor any voice of mourning save the choirs, the shrill, demented choirs of wailing shells, and bugles calling for them from sad shires. What candles may be held to speed them all, not in the hands of boys, but in their eyes shall shine the holy glimmers of goodbyes. The pallor of girls' brows shall be their pall, their flowers the tenderness of patient minds, and each slow dusk a drawing down of blinds. Anthem for Doomed Youth by Wilfred Owen. Thank you very much. It's Tales from the Jail.